They write, musicians are calling on Spotify to triple its royalty rates following the coronavirus pandemic. Due to government guidance, many venues have closed and tours have been canceled, removing what has become a key revenue stream for the majority of artists. So what you were saying last time about how having a diverse set of revenue streams is the best defense against this kind of thing. Now we're facing the reality that even streaming is taking a hit. Peace, what's going down? Welcome to another episode of the COVID Cast. My name is DJ Payne One. I'm joined by Dame Ritter. So far, we're both safe, right? You're safe, right?
I mean, I'm feeling fine. My girlfriend is a nurse though, so she's been going into the hospital. So I'm just staying away from my parents and just kind of making sure they're okay from afar. But in terms of my health, like I feel fine. But just taking the proper precautions, which I hope everybody is doing. Hopefully by now everybody understands the seriousness and the reasons why they were staying in the house, although it may suck for some people, a lot of people, especially financially. I just hope that everybody encourages one another to stay inside so we can get through this as quick as possible, even though it's probably going to be a long road.
Yeah, it's crazy. We already got 10 dead in my county, so and that number's probably gone up since the last time I checked. So yeah, it's serious stuff.
And it's like, obviously, don't be one of these idiots that's like, oh, only 10 dead. Well, 10 people probably died by falling off a ladder yesterday. It's not about the number that died today. It's about, it's about them as well, because that's unfortunate. That is terrible. But it's about the possible exponential growth, right? Like, we've seen cases go from 8,000, I think, in this country to 80,000 in 1 week, right? So that's 10x. So if we did nothing, just imagine that continuing to 10x, right? So 8 to 80, and then another 10,000, like 800. Like, I'm not saying it's on that path specifically, but if we did nothing, that's what it's about. So please stop comparing it to the flu or anything else. I guess the other thing about that is, like, cases of the flu and cases of everything else is already baked into our system. So we already have an expectation for those people to come into the hospital, and that's what those hospitals are prepared for, right? So, but if we have an influx of like other stuff that's going on, it's going to break down our system. I don't want to get into the details, but I just hope people take it serious by now.
Yeah, so let's go back to music. What's going on? Our Collab for the Crown contest is in full swing. That's dope. If you haven't signed up yet, collabforthecrown.com. It's an amazing contest in the sense that, well, one, we're giving away a bunch of money. Thank you, babe. Two, we're giving away a feature with one of the greatest rappers of our generation, King Crooked. And then on top of that, any beat that you license for the contest, you can use commercially for profit on your own projects. So I think that's what really sets us apart. I'm looking forward to seeing all the submissions when they start coming in, but I know we already have a bunch of signups, so I'm looking forward to that whole process. It was cool the last time. I think the fact that people are kind of forced to, stay inside will only help this.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten any submissions yet. Quite a few people have downloaded beats. It typically takes a few weeks for these submissions to come in because we require you guys to actually make a video. So it's normal that we don't have any submissions yet. However, the first, I would say, 10 submissions that we get, we're definitely going to support as well by reposting on our platforms and giving feedback. So I guess that's an extra perk. If you wanted to get your entries in if you wanted to get your entries in ASAP, I guess the other thing about getting it in ASAP is just having a longer window for it to be up on the contest site. So more opportunity for exposure, more opportunity for you to push the video and get the 100 votes required to be eligible to win. So hopefully everybody think it's a good, cool opportunity. Hopefully everybody has some fun with it. And if you have any questions, you can email us or reach out to us on our social media. Our email is info@musicentrepreneur club. And if you're having problem trying to find a partner in this, you can also go to Collab for the Crown. There's a link there where you can fill out a form, and then it will lead you to a spreadsheet where a bunch of other people are looking for a partner as well. So you can kind of browse through that list, check out each other's Instagram and YouTube, and hopefully, meet a new collaborator. So we're trying to facilitate as many new connections as possible.
So, in addition to that, we were supposed to go on tour. Obviously, we can't go on tour anymore. But instead of hitting the road, we're going to turn our tour into a virtual experience. And the good news for anybody that is interested is that now, not only can you tune in from anywhere, but it's also free.
Yep. So we've teamed up with BeatStars. So Payne and I have been working really hard to kind of power the programming for the event that's going to happen on April 8th and 9th. It's essentially 2 consecutive days of online discussions, panels. There's going to be 4 on April 8th and 4 on April 9th. You just tune in on BeatStars Twitch channel. It's free to join, free to participate. So hopefully this is something that, you guys can take a few gems away from. We specifically design each panel so that, we give you actionable information, stuff that you guys can learn from and use, put into play immediately. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So I'm not sure. I know that BeatStars is going to launch a website for it. I'm not sure if there's going to be a sign up. But if you text MEC to 844-206-7800, we'll be sure to send you a text update of the schedule and exactly when we go live. We're doing a lot, man. We're doing a lot because we're trying to keep busy, trying to keep other people busy during this quarantine. This past week, we had an MEC rap battle and an MEC beat battle. They definitely had a few technical difficulties, but I think it was a net positive both nights. We were able to give out some money. We basically started with $100 for each contest, and then we had people donate via our Cash App. And then the entire pot went to the winner of the MEC rap battle and the MEC beat battle. It went well. The first night, Rap Chat doubled the pot immediately, so shout out to Rap Chat. And then there were quite a few donations. And then for the beat battle, BeatStars doubled the pot immediately. So it went up to 200. It eventually got up to 346. The producer community is super supportive and dope. So we had quite a few small donations. It got up to 346. Shout out to Bufo on the Beat for winning the MEC beat battle.
Who won the rap battle?
A cat named Sneeze. Same cat that won the collab. So last year, Sneeze and John Sway won the collab for the Crown. And he took home the prize for the MEC rap battle on Sunday as well. So shout out to Sneeze. It's something that we're definitely going to continue to do. We're going to refine it and figure out how to fix some of the sound quality issues, and we'll probably move it over to Twitch. But again, if you text MEC to 844-206-7800, you'll get all our updates via text, and you won't miss it when we go live and do the MEC rap battle or beat battle.
So last week we talked about streaming going up because initially that's what the reports were saying. You just posted an article that said that's not true. Streaming is actually dropping.
Yeah, well, I apologize because I just didn't give it much thought. I just thought okay, people have more time, people are going to stream. But if a Rolling Stone article, and I know you're not a huge fan of was it Billboard? No, you're not a fan of Rolling Stone, right? It's Rolling Stone.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Billboard yet. They haven't posted any crazy articles that were poorly researched and terribly written.
So it's Rolling Stone. So another Rolling Stone article. So I apologize because I think we were talking about last week just different revenue streams, and I just made the assumption that there'll probably be a boost in streaming, without really giving it much thought, right? But now, after seeing the article, obviously, and it doesn't give too much detail about why this is happening.
Of course not, because it's a Rolling Stone article.
But if you think about it, where does a lot of music consumption take place? Just for you, where does a lot of music consumption take place?
For me?
Yeah,
I'm
or
a
just
weirdo. I'm not
like
the look. I don't leave my house. So let's think of a let's bring in a case study of a
okay.
normal person.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of music consumption happens in the gym, right?
Aha,
Like
yeah.
when you're working out,
Running.
and a lot of people are still working out, but they got to be inside. So, there's less people working out. So I think that takes a hit to music streaming consumption. Also commutes, right? Like when you're in the car headed to work. We both work from home for the most part. I know you go out and are in the schools and you do your DJing, but we spend a lot of time in the house normally. But a lot of folks on the commute, whether on the subway, whether on the freeway. So all that is pretty much gone, right?
Mm.
And then just with like, all these places being shut down, a lot of these places are streaming music inside.
Tons of them.
When
Retail outlets,
yeah. Yeah,
gyms,
it could be
restaurants.
barbershops,
Yeah,
like, yeah. So it was only a 7.6% dip, or like it's like 8 to 10%, something
that's
around there.
significant though. That's statistically significant.
Yeah, it is. And I would imagine there's probably a lot of reasons. Like the other reason is probably just like, people right now are scared, so they're spending less time listening to music and, trying to stay up on the news, right? Or
Mm.
watching Netflix. They're opting for just other things outside, whether it was like, watching Tiger King on Netflix or
My girl's watching. Everyone's
um
watching Tiger King.
yeah, they say it gets
Ted Park
crazier in
is
the
watching Tiger King.
Wow, that is crazy.
So I've only watched the first two episodes. They say it gets a lot crazier. Episode three, like, I just think it's kind of weird so far. But anyway, going back to streaming.
What? No, but I think what's
um,
good is that once this coronavirus stuff gets handled, we're all gonna go liberate the cats from their confinements. I'll be leading the
yeah,
charge. I'll have energy. I'll have all that quarantine energy built up.
yeah, it's a lot of weird people in this country, man. It's a lot of weird people.
You don't say.
Um, but yeah, damn, broke my train of thought. But anyway, so if we think about it a little deeper, we can kind of understand why this is happening. But it's not a complete shut off of streaming. It's not like, people aren't listening to any music. It's just not the bump that I like initially, without giving it too much thought, like assumed we would get in streaming, right?
Yeah.
Um, so did you read that article, or you just saw that I posted it, or did
I
you
saw that
read
you
it?
posted it. I figured you would talk about it. I kind of like going into these topics cold sometimes.
Just one bit of good news, because the article that I posted yesterday was, and this is probably minor in comparison to all the negative news, but I feel like we need to have some glimmer of hope here and there, especially for the music community. I think Bandcamp, during this time, I don't know if it's still happening, but like they are not charging any fees. So whatever you
Yep.
sell via Bandcamp is going directly to independent artists that are selling, their stuff. I think you can sell merch on Bandcamp. Whatever you're selling on Bandcamp, it's going straight to the artist. And I know that, I forget the number, but I know that sales were on the uptick for that. So people are supporting independent artists, because I know that a lot of fans of independent artists know that they're not in the best space financially. There's a lot of like middle tier, like lower tier artists that, are barely getting by. And now that they're not able to tour, took a huge hit. So I thought that was dope of Bandcamp to do,
Yeah.
just to let all the money flow directly to the independent artists. And I know they've been pushing their, whether it's singles, albums, merch. So support independent artists at this time. If you're in any position to do so, man, find somebody to help. There's a lot of people to help. I'm part of this Slack group. I'm not sure if people know what Slack is, but it's kind of like a team. It's like a project management type software. And I just see, there's people in the Slack group that are trying to match people in need with people that have the ability to help. And there's way more people in need right now, obviously. But yeah, support people when you can, especially this is a music podcasts, and we care about we care about more than just the independent artist community, but just support those in need if you're in a position to do so.
I read an article, and there was actually a quote from a member of one of my favorite groups, Portishead. This is Jeff Barrow. He tweeted that the brilliant people from Bandcamp are doing their bit to help musicians and labels through this difficult time. I wonder what Spotify are doing. And, you know, I think the answer is absolutely nothing. And do I expect Spotify to do something? No. But this is an article from The Guardian, and they're a UK-based publication. They write, musicians are calling on Spotify to triple its royalty rates following the coronavirus pandemic. Due to government guidance, many venues have closed and tours have been canceled, removing what has become a key revenue stream for the majority of artists. So what you were saying last time about how having a diverse set of revenue streams is the best defense against this kind of thing. But even still, now we're facing the reality that even streaming is taking a hit. And no matter who you are, no matter how many different revenue streams you have, unless one of your revenue streams is literally just picking up a check from your mailbox from a rich donor every other day, you're probably gonna feel it. I just don't know if this is a real call to action to Spotify, or if this is just more campaigning against some of Spotify's resistance to an increase in royalty rates, because this has been going on forever. It's kind of been artists versus Spotify, and I know that. And it was not just Spotify. I think there were a bunch of streaming companies that were a part of this case. But in 2017, the article reminds us Spotify asked labels to lower their royalty rates so it could become economically sound, because their revenue model was a little weird, Spotify's, and it still is compared to someone like Amazon or ByteDance. But ByteDance is another conversation entirely that we already kind of had. But then again, last year in 2019, the company appealed a U.S. Copyright Royalty Board's decision to award songwriters and publishers a 44% rate increase by 2022. And that was a big deal. That was a really big deal because those rates have not increased for decades. I mean, so effectively, musicians have been on a wage freeze for forever. I mean, the same rates that an artist that just came out, within the last decade is getting. That's what somebody who, their grandfather, if he had been a musician, that's what he was getting. So that's pretty crazy, but people really lashed out. There was a backlash against these streaming companies, especially Spotify, because when we think streaming, we think Spotify automatically, because they actually appealed that decision. So they're not just paying the minimum, they're fighting to defend their ability to continue paying the minimum. So I think if anybody's really hopeful that Spotify is suddenly going to change, you're probably crazy. The same way we talked about this last time, the same way relying on any company to do the right thing at this point, or I guess what's the right thing when you exist in a system that's literally called capitalism, where capital means money? I mean, that's at the center of our economic system. It's not peopleism. It's not help your neighborism. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's. It's certainly not realistic, in my opinion. Is it a good use of time and energy? That remains to be seen. It could be a symbolic thing for a lot of people, but ultimately, a lot of us are going to have to help each other and break out of that system if there are people in need at that level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't really been keeping up with Spotify's financials, but I don't even think they're turning a profit yet. They may be by now. I don't know. But you're not going to get Spotify to increase, any royalty rates anytime soon, in my opinion. I know that they did like start, and I don't know where this relief fund goes, but I heard that they donated 10 million to a Corona relief fund. I don't think that's artist relief, but at least they did something, right? Like I think at least they did something. I would hope that more companies, even though, you kind of painted a doom and gloom like portrait of capitalism, like you would hope that some companies, well, one, you would just hope that some companies do the right thing because they care about people. It's not really set up to incentivize people in that way. However, if you think that, doing the right thing will elevate your brand and loyalty to your brand, and that eventually turns into dollars, it could be a smart business move as well, right? Like, I don't know if Nike really rocks with Cap or if they ran the numbers.
We want to go with that.
But like, I don't know if they ran the numbers and they was like, hold on, a lot of people rock with Cap, so we might want to rock with him and be ahead of this, and it could help our brand loyalty long term. Like, I'm not in these discussions, so I don't know like if it's more just the right thing to do versus a business decision. But a lot of times you can't align both, right? Because you would hope that doing the right thing, if you market it the right way, people see you're doing the right thing, and that, makes people support you for the long term.
My gym actually is paying all of the trainers that aren't working right now, so that made me feel good about their well-being, because I haven't seen them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so you're probably locked. So that develops like a love for your gym, So you probably, it's going to be hard for you to switch to 24-hour fitness or LA Fitness or whatever, like after you know that your gym is more familial, is it really take care of its people. So that kind of relates to the last thing I wanted to talk about, because in the last MEC session that we had, I had some pretty dope independent artists, kind of like a roundtable discussion. So I had Jaron Benton, I had Demrick, I had On Q, I had Chow Mein and Emilio Rojas. And one of the things that I wanted to talk with them about was like, just their platform and their messaging at this time. And I don't know if it's just, I would have cared even when I was younger, but even more so now that I'm older. Like, I don't care how good you are at what you do or how good your product is. If I don't rock with you as a person, I'm going to find a substitute. Like, I'm not going to listen to your music. I'm not going to buy your product if I don't rock with you as a person. So, and I know, younger people may not be making that same decision. They may just think like, oh, this person makes good music. I don't care, what they do. Maybe a lot.
Well, wait a minute. I just want to defend young people, because our generation has R. Kelly, and we all know what went down with that.
And yes, there are a few people that listen to him, but I would say for the most part, he's canceled, right? Like, I would say he's broke, he's in jail, and it took too long to get to that point.
That's sure. My point. There was a lot of resistance.
Yeah, it took a long time, but I'm saying, like, I'm to the point now where it's like, like I reach out to if I see somebody that I know, like my son, for example, I felt like he was using my son he's a rapper. He's been rapping for a minute, like all the way back in the Rough Rider days. And now he's turned community activist, and I respect what he's doing, in the community. But I felt with this coronavirus, he was using his platform in an irresponsible way. Now, he wasn't saying like, this is fake, just go out into the streets. But he was posting things like random doctors that were saying, this is just treatable with vitamin C, talking about the fear and stuff like that. And I just thought it was, so I DM'd him and I was like, yo, and we had a healthy, respectful exchange. But for people so I'm more sensitive now to even like other issues. Like, if you don't believe in climate change or if you support Donald Trump, like, I will not rock with you. So I think there's an opportunity here to, if you're that type of artist, like if you're a flow rider or whatever, you just make dance music. I don't expect you to say too much. If you do, I mean, if you use your platform in a positive way, I think that's an added bonus. And I'd be like, oh wow, I'd probably be in tune more. But I think there's just an opportunity to really engage with your fans, really show support, really show empathy. Because a lot of most successful artists are doing better than the people that support their music, right? So I think it's, if you're not saying anything right now about the pain that people are going through, I look at that person differently. That's me though. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not addressing if you're a successful person and you're kind of not really impacted by this, you're gonna still be a millionaire after this, and you're not talking to the fans that support you and buy your music, go to your tours, things like that. I have a problem with that. I mean, I'm not saying that you should be a Dr. Fauci. You shouldn't be a leading expert in this field, but I feel like you should be talking to your fans, showing empathy, and just being human at this point. But that's me. But I don't know if and I don't want to create a young old divide. I don't know if a majority of people expect that from the people that have a lot of followers and are financially successful.
I don't know. I think it transcends age. But then again, we don't have any kind of data on that. But I think the intergenerational divides are more exaggerated when it comes to just kind of the basic human conduct. I certainly think there are some generational divides that need to be discussed, not in this episode, but actually that'd be a good topic for next Thursday. Let's talk about that. Let's open a can of worms. I do want to talk about even the term culture, because remember, like when we were growing up, we would hear the term hip hop culture all the time. Nowadays, It's just called the culture. I don't know what that means anymore. I knew what hip hop culture meant. That was a lot clearer, and they were clear. Not to say that there was any hierarchy in hip hop culture that was clearly defined or voted on or anything, but we kind of knew that if Chuck D spoke, or if DMC spoke, or if Flash spoke, somebody, Fat Joe, and anybody that was really K-Slay, anybody that was really influential and had the experience and had the track record of committing and dedicating their lives to that culture, we knew that they were people whose opinions we really should consider. And now it's just kind of a free-for-all. I don't know what the hell the culture is. I think the culture can be shoes. I think the culture can be social media. I think the culture can be, updates about 6ix9ine's trial every 5 minutes. So where did the hip hop part go? And what generationally has happened? Maybe I don't want to talk about that next episode, but I do want to open that can of worms so people can kind of see them crawl around and consider what's going on.
I mean, you're right, though. I mean, there's just way too many opinions, right? I think social media kind of fucked up, like, what the culture is, right? Like, people that have a voice, people that have a platform, they probably shouldn't have a voice in hip-hop culture, right? Because I think the people that had a voice back in the day, like, really had a true appreciation for the culture, right? They loved it. Like, they loved it. They breathed it, whether it was breakdancing, whether it was graffiti, whether it was DJing, MC, like, they loved the culture, right? Now I think people just love followers and they love attention, and now they just have a platform, and because they have a platform, people are listening to them. They're not really doing it for the culture. They're doing it for attention, and it's really just fucked up. So everybody has a different definition of what the culture is, right? Like, there would be no way that DJ Academics would be let into the culture and have a voice 20 years ago, right? There would be no way that would happen. Like,
I mean, he's a polarizing figure, so I don't. We've
But he's
always had
doing it-
controversial figures in hip hop. I mean, I think Funkmaster Flex is a polarizing figure, and I can't pull his card. Not to compare the two. Absolutely not to
Today
compare
I
the
can,
two.
though. Today, I mean, what he's done in the past, I mean, you can't knock him for, like, he's definitely been a solid figure in the hip hop culture. However, today he's running scams on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were going in on him like 4 episodes ago.
Yeah. So
No
cats
one's
can
safe
tell-
when
'cause
Dame's around.
So I think it can change, right? Like, yeah, because I think that's what happened. Like once these, because I think before, like, Fab Five Freddy and like Sway, it's like they appreciated like interviewing people and studying it and bringing people together, and that's what it was about. But now people that are in Sway's position, like they are the focal point, right? Like Charlemagne is probably more influential than a lot of artists, right? So it just kind of like the power shifted, and with that, I think it's sometimes hard for people to stay like pure. That's probably a bad word.
No, but I know
That's
what
probably
you're
not the right-
saying because just having an opinion is now your currency, and the more attention you get from having an opinion is the focus. Back in the early days of Sway, you had to care about hip hop culture in order to dedicate that amount of time to it because the benefits weren't as plentiful as they are now. Now you can have a YouTube channel where you list the top 5 trashiest rappers of the decade, or do it. They're just, I mean, some of the most popular hip hop commentary channels are all negative, and people eat it up. And I'm not even talking about academics, because I've had conversations with him. I'm talking about people who aren't even as big as him, and they're basing their entire platform on negativity, and people see how successful and attractive that is, and then they want to do it. And instead of wanting to rap better, make better beats, instead of wanting to contribute to the culture in an artistic way, instead of wanting to contribute to the culture from an activist angle, like I saw a lot of people do way back, hey, I can't rap, I can't DJ, I can't breakdance, but I'm going to volunteer at a youth center and create a program for kids who do and facilitate their growth and keep them focused on something positive, which I was a part of, and it saved my life when I was a teenager. Instead of doing that, the people who don't have any real connection to the culture on a practical or artistic level, they can just become commentators and talk about, who's having sex with who and who fell off and who got money and who fought who, and suddenly that's the culture. And so I do appreciate someone like Joe Budden, or just I appreciate. I guess anybody who you look at and say they really live that, and now they're in a position of influence. Now they have a platform. Thank God that Joe Budden is so prolific in that space, in that commentary space, not just with his podcast, but with State of the Culture. And you brought on people that weren't, people that started 3 years. You brought on Remy Martin, and anyone affiliated with that group of people in that era clearly was dedicated, because it was a very different time. And so to me, that's where the true generational divide exists. It's people who used to do it and were married to it no matter what benefits or drawbacks came with it, to now where it's like, hey, it's working. I see it's working. I know what the formula is. I'm just going to do it and blow up as a media personality. And that's the extent of my dedication to the so-called culture. And I'm going to speak on behalf of the culture, even though I actually, in fact, don't know shit about its origins. So that's why I can't even stand these conversations. Like, let's talk about hip hop culture. Okay, who are the top 5 rappers? That's not hip hop culture. That's you having a dumbass conversation. Let's actually talk about hip hop culture. Do you know how it started? Do you know the year it started? Do you know I don't even want to get into it, but challenge someone who's so up on the culture to name 5 pioneers who didn't rap. Name 5 pioneers of the culture who weren't rappers. Most people can't do it. So I'm shutting these conversations down. I do want to talk about something positive next episode. I want to talk about
my last 2 cents on it, and that's why I really respect Sway, man. And I wish there
True.
was I wish there was a young Sway, right? Like, just because, I mean, and not that Sway is going anywhere anytime soon, but just kind of to continue in that lineage, like people that have, and that's what I was hoping. Even though Team Backpack doesn't exist anymore, like, that's why I was so super supportive of the Team Backpack platform when they were doing like their ciphers and stuff, because I know that it was fueled by a few young cats that really loved the culture, that had integrity. So it's unfortunate they don't have that platform anymore. But yeah, man, shout out to Sway, because he's somebody that I really look up to. He maintains his integrity. He's obviously somebody that's been in the game for a really long time, and I just really respect what he does. I just hope that some young cats are listening to him on a daily basis, look up to him, and want to do do his job in the same fashion.
Let's end on that inspirational note. We'll catch you next time. My name's DJ Payne 1. He's Dame Ritter. Collabforthecrown.com. Win $1,000 and a feature with one of the dopest rappers of our era, King Crooked. Check that out. BeatStar Summit, April 8th and April 9th. Live on Twitch. Free for anyone to join. We'll catch you at the next episode. Peace.